played there. And earlier today, I caught up with the North West Norfolk MP. This is, of course, the constituency that takes in Sandringham. James Wilde has been telling us how he heard the news and his reaction to the death of Prince Philip at the age of 99.
Well, it's obviously very sad news, and I think today we remember the incredibly rich life that Prince Philip led and the immense service he gave to the country and obviously to the Queen. In West Norfolk, he's remembered very fondly. Obviously, Sandringham and particularly Wood Farm were a very special place for him, particularly towards the end of his life. And I think we all send our deepest condolences to Her Majesty the Queen and the rest of the royal family.
How did you hear the news? Because to me, I first found out in a very modern way. Really, it flashed up on my mobile phone, and it's the first time we've had such a significant national royal death since we've all had news at our fingertips on our mobile phones. And I understand you found out in a similar way, didn't you?
That's right. I was walking down the high street in Lynn and was just checking Twitter as we all want to do, and then the news sort of popped up there, and yeah, it sort of took me aback because you don't expect these things to come. As you say, it was 99 years old, but he come out of hospital, and it's just a constant that's been there for such a long time in our national life has now very sadly gone. But I think he's left a strong legacy from the causes that he championed and the contribution he made to public life.
The contribution he made to public life across the country, but in particular to West Norfolk. What do you think he has meant to Sandringham and to West Norfolk as a whole?
Well, it was obviously a place that had great affection for him, and I think was particularly a sanctuary for both him and Her Majesty, and the time he spent there, more latterly painting and reading, less of the carriage driving, I think. But he was obviously passionate about the area, passionate about Wolverton and around the marshes, and I think that's what people will remember about him. That Norfolk was a big part of who he was.
The fact that, I know it didn't happen the Christmas just gone, but in recent years, every Christmas he and the Queen had chosen to spend at Sandringham. I think that says a lot, doesn't it, about his affection and their affection for Norfolk and for Sandringham.
It does, and I think he spent more time here than perhaps people were aware of outside of just the Christmas period, and that's where he felt comfortable and was able to enjoy perhaps a bit of time away from the public spotlight after such a long period. I think when he stepped down from public service a few years ago, he was involved with about 800 organisations, and that just shows the sort of the spirit and the commitment that he showed in that role.
And West Norfolk is very proud of its royal connection, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. Sandringham's massively important to the royal family, and we're proud and very delighted to have the royal connection here, and think people feel very protective and supportive of the royal family, and let them go about their businesses without sort of interfering or giving them too much public attention. I think they can come here and sort of feel relaxed and enjoy this wonderful part of the world.
Yes, it's interesting that the reasons that they love Norfolk are probably the same reasons that many of us love Norfolk.
That's right. We've got a lot of space, a lot of great countryside and environment to enjoy, and you can do that, and people let you go about your business and don't sort of interfere. So I think it's a sanctuary, I think, for the royal family, and I think after that length of service in public life, you probably need somewhere where you can come and feel at home and feel relaxed and enjoy yourself, perhaps a little bit out of the limelight.
What happens over the next few days? I imagine the funeral will be lower key than otherwise it might have done because of the pandemic restrictions that we're all still living by. How do you feel about a lasting memorial, some way of remembering Prince Philip here in Norfolk? Do you think that would be appropriate?
Well, I think that's very much something we should be guided by the royal family, and I'm sure that the Duke of Edinburgh would have left the wishes and the way that he wants to be remembered. So I think in time that's something certainly to be considered. But I think he was clear about how he wanted to be remembered and how his funeral and things to go. And I think we should respect that and listen to the royal family and see what their views are in terms of some sort of legacy to remember him. But I think everyone in the area would support that if that was something that they wanted to consider and take forward.
But whether or not there ever is a physical memorial to him here in West Norfolk, he will be remembered, won't he? That legacy has already been left in terms of the impression he's made with people, that the times that lots of people locally will have met him and come across him. That legacy is there, and that will always be there now.
That's right. I think the good sense of humour he had, the enjoyment of a joke. I was fortunate to meet him a couple of times, albeit briefly, at events at Buckingham Palace, rather, in Norfolk. And that sort of good humour and putting you at your ease is something that came across. And I think the causes that he championed around the environment, obviously the Duke of Edinburgh scheme has made such a difference to so many young people's lives, as well as his support for the armed forces. I think the causes that he picked to support showed the kind of man that he was. So, as I say, it's very sad to have lost him today, and we remember the great contribution and the massive impact he's made on our nation.
James Wilde, the North West Norfolk MP, which of course his